these definitive statements off of one game, one moment, and I know Lethal does this a lot, what I'm saying, where like a quarterback I have a bad game and Lethal will be like, is this the start of his decline? And it's like,
bro.
it's just one bad game.
Yeah,
And then
bro.
next week he'll come out and throw for 300 yards. And then we'll be like, oh, look, he came back. And we'll be like, no, that was a fluke though. Like, what I'm saying? Like, so it's not even about Jalen Brunson. He's just somebody that it applies to, but it's
The greatest Nick player ever right now.
Yeah,
though,
that is
insane.
terrible. That is terrible.
Diabolical work right now, bro.
I don't even know if he's top three, to be honest with you. Yeah, I don't even know if he's top three, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? Because like you got to win some awards or something to clear yourself.
That's tough, bro. I think that was like I think that's where Bronson gets
the best Knickerbocker of all time is tough.
It's the clutch stuff that be going on. It's like he be
and
off
again,
all
people will
stuff.
go in 2-5. I know this. In 2-5, I know you're not disagreeing with me. But it's like everybody is not, because again, it's a privilege to start 2-7, 7 for 20. It's a privilege to do that, and then at the end of the opportunity, take over the fourth quarter or the last couple minutes of the fourth quarter. And now Jalen Brunson is the most clutch player, or always looking at him as the best clutch player.
But what I'm saying,
to
though,
finish to my
you're not
point,
wrong. But what
is that Trey leads the league in clutch 10 points.
How'd I know he was going to bring up Trey Young?
You knew it was coming, bro. You knew it.
But like I said, the thing about it, though,
I'm just saying, though. I didn't. Well, for one, I didn't know we changed the conversation.
You know what I'm saying? No, because I was just trying to make a point. I wasn't trying to focus on Jalen Brunson. I'm just talking about in general. But since you brought it up, there are players that have the support that Jalen Brunson has that don't do what Jalen Brunson does, or that doesn't do it in the clutch. That's the separator. Like, so, you got somebody like Luka who has what's considered to be the greatest player of all time, or the second greatest player of all time. Austin Reeves been doing his thing, and they lost the series in 5 games. But if Luka had been doing these things in the fourth quarter, I know. Hold up, real quick. But if Luka had done those same things in the fourth quarter that Jalen Brunson do, we would be having conversations about if he's the best player in the league. Saying how awesome he is, how he saved the Lakers, how he's saving LeBron's legacy. So where's that line of this person has support and he's doing it, and we're gonna not shit on him, but we're gonna downgrade what he's doing because of his support, but we're gonna let the people off the hook that have the support that's not doing the same thing.
Well, I think in Luka's defense, I think it's the same as the AD thing. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Who we gonna defer to? Who we gonna blame it on? Blah blah blah. But I mean, LeBron averaged 25. I think Luka averaged 34. And I think the next person might have averaged maybe 19 or 21. So it's like I get it. And also, nobody from the Wolves averaged 30. So we have to take into account that Luka, even though he was a absolute monster on the offense, again, it came out the statistics. I don't know how true it is, but 64% of his defensive assignments were blow-bys, where he allowed 64% of the people that he was playing defense on, he allowed to blow past them.
I believe it, because nobody had to average 30, because Julius Randle averaged something like 25 or 26. Ant did his thing. You had people like Jaden Daniels, scoring way more than he normally does. Naz Reid hit a bunch of like Rudy Gobert, for example, in that game 5, 27 and 24. The rest of the series before that, the 4 games before that, he had 14 total points. He had 14 total points in 25 rebounds, but he had 27 and 24 in the closeout game. And that's what I'm saying, though. So where does the criticism? So for the way that you're talking about Jalen Brunson, who won his series, saying, how do we talk about the people that have the support and lost their series? Like we shitting on the guy that won more than we are the guy that lost.
I'm not taking anything away from the New York Knicks. We've said this before, though. the Lakers played. I mean, the Lakers played a team that was on par with them, or maybe even better. And Luka just could not play defense. A lot of their games came down to the wire. But this New York Knicks series this is Detroit. This is like Baker Mayfield and the Browns, their first year making it to the playoffs. This is we got to think about what kind of teams this is, and a lot of those games the Knicks had and they let it go. I mean, the Pistons had and they let it go. So I will never take anything away from Jalen Brunson.
But here's the difference.
I'll never take anything away from Jalen Brunson.
I can say if the Warriors win tonight, here's the difference. If the Warriors win tonight, I could say that same thing about the Rockets. Whereas I think it was game 3, they missed 14 free throws and lost by like 6 or something like that. I could apply that same logic, but since it's the Warriors, since it's Steph Curry, people aren't going to say that. They're just going to talk about how great the Warriors are and how they showed championship. This is why they're champions. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm saying. Like, so the argument isn't this versus that. The argument is, why don't we apply the same things across the board? So
I feel like the Jalen Brunson thing will only come down to something like if he beat Boston in the conference finals, or in the clutch fashion that he's been doing this season, then you could start making the argument of, okay, he's actually raising his bar versus just, all right, this against the Pistons. Y'all won the series and stuff, but competition wise, like
the only reason we're having this conversation is because I compared Jalen Brunson to Trae Young one time. That's the only reason we're having this conversation. If I never made that comment, we wouldn't be talking about this, and Cups wouldn't talk about Jalen Brunson the way that he does. You know what I'm saying? It's that simple. You know what I'm saying? Just like Drew Brees, right? Like, if nobody brings up Aaron Rodgers, we don't hear about Drew Brees as much as we do. You know what I mean? Like, these are just Cups, like babies or something. You know what I mean? Like, and he has to protect them at all costs.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? But who is the greatest Knick ever?
For them to say that while Mr. Frazier is doing color commentary for the radio, right there courtside, is blatant disrespect. The greatest Knicks player ever, Patrick Ewing or Mr. Frazier.
That's just crazy, man. Like,
take your pick, either one of the two. That you could say, well, you got to throw Willis Reed in there. Outside of that one game, Willis Reed was just a center, and I said it, and I meant it. Anyway, stats-wise, Mr. Frazier or Ewing.
Where does my guy?
Ewing brought your franchise back from the dead thanks to the draft. If it wasn't for the lottery, what was you doing before the lottery? Mediocrity.
Where does my guy BK fit on this list?
Oh, Mr. King is 2A or 3.
Okay.
But you're not doing a top 5 Knicks without him, Ewing, and Mr. Frazier in it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think that Jalen Brunson.
What has he done? What has he done to get greatest Knicks?
Nothing. And I mean, and from the standpoint of, even if you look at it from like awards and things like that, you know what I mean? He won the clutch player this year, which is a made up award. You know what I mean? Whereas, even J.R. Smith won 6th Man of the Year. You know what I'm saying? So, like, you got to give me something when it comes to the awards. Patrick Ewing obviously has the most All-NBA first teams. He took them to 2 finals. So can you get the Knicks to 1 finals with better teams than Patrick Ewing had? I mean, Anthony Mason won 6th Man of the Year. Like, you know what I mean?
That's why I said the conversation for Brunson is for this year. It got to be, you got to do it against real people, bro. Like,
you could even argue that
they gonna get swept when they play Boston. just because they haven't beaten Boston all season.
Right.
They don't have the bench. They don't have the lineup. They rely too much on the perimeter, mid, and 3-point shot. If Brunson doesn't score, that's their game. So what is they made it easy for Missoula to scout for them and how to plan for them. Shut down Brunson, you shut down the Knicks.
And you can even make the argument that for this year, like, and I'm talking about the regular season, you could make the argument that he wasn't even the best Knick this regular season. See, that's the difference between me and Cups. I try to be fair and objective. You know what I mean? So even though I like Jalen Brunson,
I gotta say something about that though. And not to say you said fair and balanced Fox News style. It kind of intrigued me how you slightly complimented Calipari when normally it's fuck John Calipari.
Because I'm trying to be fair, like, you know what I mean? Like I got my issues. I got my issues with Calipari, 100%. But what is one of your issues with John Calipari? He doesn't make in-game adjustments. He has never switched up his style of play. So whatever he was doing at Memphis with the dribble drive offense, he's still doing, and it's like 18 years later. He won't play zone defense, you know, like he just sticks with man even when they're getting burnt up, you know, and, you know, with all the talent that he's had over the years, he should have 4 or 5 national titles, and I'm not even trying to be hyperbolic.
But by his own admission, he has said he developed players to go to the next level, not to win at the level they're at. Correct?
Right.
Or am I misquoting it? I've heard him on many interviews say, well, my players, I set them up for the NBA.
He does do that. Yes. And that's my other problem, though. That's my other problem.
That's what I'm proud of. I'm proud of my NBA players, not more or less say my college players.
Well, that's my problem. That's my biggest problem because that one NBA draft, the John Wall draft, they had 5 players selected in the first round, and he said, this is the greatest night in Kentucky basketball history. That was one of those moments where I was like, if I could bitch slap you, I would. You know what I mean? Because I'm all about preparing your guys for the NBA. But guess what? You coach in college. The goal is to win. You know what I mean? So you can do both. You know what I mean? You know, but you're obviously overemphasizing one over the other.
They did win. They just didn't win the big one. I mean, so you could say the same thing for you.
Well, that's what I was about to bring up. College basketball is harder to gauge in that way because Coach K, right? 5 titles. Coach K coached for 43 years. You know what I mean? So, like, when you think about that, you know, just using averages or whatever, that's like 1 title every 8 years. Doesn't sound very impressive.
But do the Shire get better talent than Coach K getting? The number of 5, 4, and 5 stars Shire is getting on a consistent basis.
So
Coach K wasn't getting that. He got 1, maybe 2. At most, he had 3, 4 stars or 5 stars on there, and that was the Leitner, Hill, Davis, Hurley era. Any other era, he had 1, 4, maybe 5-star player and a bunch of temptations. That's it. But he made it work. Shire, his whole roster is basically the McDonald's All-American squad.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, what does he have to show for it outside of a couple of ACC trophies?
Right.
So, do you critique him the same way, or do you like, you got to work it out? In 40 years, we'll be saying something different about you.
I don't critique him the same way because Calipari has been coaching since I was about 5 years old. You know, John Shire just got his first head coach job 3 or 4 years ago, and he took over a blue blood. So it's not like he got experience working his way up the ladder, if you will. He's learning on the job the same way that JJ Redick is. You know, ironic that he went to Duke, but you know, but there, you know, he's figuring it out as he goes. Whereas Calipari has coached in the NBA, You know, like he coached, like he's always had talent. Even if you go back to Marcus Camby, and he didn't win with that team. You know, then so okay, he was a younger coach at that time. Then he went to Memphis. He didn't win with Derrick Rose. You know what I mean? He didn't win with John Wall. He had John
Goddamn.
Wall, Boogie, and Eric Bledsoe on the same team and did not win.
Okay, so
Disgraceful, diabolical.
do we throw Coach Pitino in that category as well?
No, because Coach Pitino, when you watch a Pitino team, you can actually see the coaching. Like you can actually see the adjustments. You can see him, I guess, collectively speaking to the players and giving some sort of instruction. With Cal, you go in the game, you miss a 3-point shot, he just starts yelling as if you stole something. And then the next time out, he's pulling you out the game. So you can't even get comfortable and redeem yourself anyway. You know what I'm saying? And with Pitino, you know what I'm saying, he's won 2 titles at 2 different schools. He probably would have won another title at Kentucky, but the year that he left, Tubby won his only title with Pitino's team. You know what I'm saying? So like Pitino might like okay. So Coach K is the best coach of the modern era if you're looking at titles. You know what I mean? If you're just looking at straight up coaching, Pitino might be the best coach of this generation. Because even Izzo, right? Izzo gets all the credit for making all these Final Fours. Izzo got one national title that he won 25 years ago, literally. Not me being exaggeratory or whatever. That's probably not a word. But, you know what I'm saying? He won that title in 2000. So it's not the same thing.
Can you apply that same logic with college football?
No, because with college basketball, and obviously I'm not trying to talk to you like a stupid, there's only 5 players on the court at one time. You know what I mean? So you can have a guy have a hot night, you know, hit 6 threes, you know, just something like that kid Jack Golke did against Kentucky 2 years ago. You know, like you can have a guy have a game like that and that'll bury you. You know what I mean? Whereas in college football, there's 83 scholarships to give out. So a school like LSU, a school like Alabama, Georgia, so on and so forth, they have their top 20 players are better than your top 50 players. You know what I mean? So it's a little more to overcome. You know what I mean?
When we say coaches wise when we go into that side for the football, you'll be like, all right, Nick Saban, just because of the wins and stuff. But then when you say like greatest coach though, you know what I'm saying? Is there anybody that you could just hand pick straight up out of the football?
I think it's got to be like, Nick Saban.
It's just Nick Saban all the way.
It's just Nick Saban because again, you can value what you see. You know what I mean? Like even if it's not on the field, like say like the press conferences, right? They might win a game, you know, 41-7, and he'll go to the podium and be like, "No, I saw things that we can correct. You know, we didn't play a perfect game." It's that type of stuff that like it's the little things. So like he obviously is coaching on the field. He's obviously recruiting these dudes, but it's those type of things where when you look at it, he's always trying to get better. Like, oh, I got Derrick Henry, so what? You know, I need my backup to be as good as Derrick Henry. So that's where Nick Saban kind of stands out from the bunch. Now, granted, it does help that you're at Alabama. That definitely helps and pushes the needle in your favor. But again, we've seen other coaches at Alabama not do what Nick Saban did.
So does like Ryan Day, if he has another 5-year stretch where he either is winning another natty or he's fighting in for another natty, does he start having a conversation? Like, could he what would it take for somebody to step into like the Nick Saban realm?
I would say that you would have to do
for him to surpass Urban Meyer.
I think you would have to do something like win 3 titles in a 8 to 10 year window.
But who has the best shot? Does Ryan Day have the best shot?
I would say Ryan Day just based off of talent, the talent that Ohio State gets. You know what I mean? You know, because like LSU is obviously one of those talent getters too, but I'm not a fan of Brian Kelly. I don't know if he's that type of coach. You got what's my man's name? I'm throwing a blank. Kirby Smart. You got Kirby Smart, who is always going to have the defense, playing at a level that not a lot of teams can match. But the question with Georgia is always going to be the old school LSU, right? Who's your quarterback? You know what I'm saying? Like, are we going to go through the Jordan Jefferson years? Stuff like that. So I think Ryan Day and Dan Lanning, those two probably have the best chance just based off of talent accumulation.
Okay.
And Ryan Day is a good coach. He just fuck Lincoln Riley.
Oh wait.
Yeah, what he ever done?
Not shit. Well, he got drafted.
You a quarterback.
Got Baker Mayfield drafted.
If my son was a quarterback, I would take him to go play for Lincoln Riley. If my son played any other position, I would take him anywhere else but Lincoln Riley. I put it like that.
Fair argument.
Lincoln Riley's never even won a playoff game. With those same dudes that you talking about. Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts. What's my man? You just brought Baker Mayfield.
Well, no, it wasn't Baker Mayfield. It was Kyler Murray, right?
Oh, actually, Baker wasn't. I don't think Baker was there when he was there.
I think Baker Mayfield was the year before.
Yeah.
No, he didn't.
But that's what I'm saying. You gotta. And I'm not one of these guys that's like, if you don't win the title, you're a failure. I don't look at it that way. But can you win a damn playoff game?
I feel that.
You know what I mean? And what they doing now? You know what I mean? Caleb Williams is gone.
Shout out to Coach
they had Miller Moss, who's at Louisville now, and then you got this Jaden Maeva kid who got benched at UNLV. You know what I mean? And, like that's the guy that's going to lead USC to greatness.
They should have got Nico.
Maybe they should have. You know what I mean? And then they lost their best receiver too to
Nico at Big Brother
Tennessee.
now.
So yeah. So you know what I mean? Like, so Lincoln Riley, I don't know. Like Lincoln Riley might be fired after this year, and like the only reason he's probably not fired right now is because of how much his buyout is.
How y'all feel about the Notre Dame head coach? I forgot his name.
Marcus Freeman.
Yeah.
Marcus Freeman.
Yeah, I think Marcus Freeman is headed places. I mean, because like just like the John Shire conversation, right? He didn't start at small schools or whatever and work his way up the ladder. Like, he was the defensive coordinator for Cincinnati when they made the playoffs. Then he went to Notre Dame as the defensive coordinator. He was a great recruiter. Brian Kelly left, and they were like, yo, let's just put our great recruiter at head coach. So he's learning on the job too. And I mean, but it's year 3 and he got to a national title game with a quarterback that you don't even want on your team right now.
I ain't say I didn't want him. I was just like, bro, like between Quinn Ewers and Riley Leonard at 6, it was just like, why we go Riley? You know what I'm saying? But I understood why though, because he had ties in with Phillip Rivers. You know what I'm saying? Phillip been coaching him up too and stuff. So, and Shane, we had Phillip in the building. So it's just like, all right, cool. I understand why we dropped it. It's other reasons of it. But right. During the time, yeah, I agree though. You know what I'm saying? Riley Leonard was in the natty, bro. He was in the natty. Their first possession, he took them in 9 times, bro.
Man, that dude is Tebow minus 50 pounds.
With a better arm than Tebow.
I doubt it. That's the one thing Tebow had. Tebow had a cannon.
In college.
But you want to know what Tebow also has?
What's that?
You want to know what Tebow also has? He has a playoff win.
He has a playoff win in the NFL, and he has 2 college national titles.
That is true.
Shout out to Steel Curtain.
That playoff win did come off that left hand cannon of his.
You know what I'm saying? That slant route. You know what I'm saying? Unc definitely don't want to talk about that.
No, we can talk about it, because I mean, Tebow to me is like Manziel. He had excellent receivers that made him look good, but in reference to that playoff game, that was more of what the cornerback didn't do versus what Tebow did. But I mean, and so I guess it's all about how you look at it. We didn't cheat to get there like some teams did to have their little Super Bowl run, and we're not in the top 5 picks now like some teams are, with their fans complaining about the team players they pick. But I mean, the trophies all look the same in the display case, right? That's all that matters. That's all that matters. And I mean, even if we go back to that particular game, in typical Steeler fashion, it was ours to lose. And like I say, Ike Taylor lost that game. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
I can dig it.
So
I mean, we had a quarterback playing on a bad ankle that went in at halftime and got juiced up just so he could put them in a position to win and get it to overtime, only for them to lose on the first play or first series because
Right.
the corner didn't jam him at the line and let him run scot-free. And Tebow and God had a contract, and he was slightly more accurate than what he was.
That's not ball.
He was slightly more accurate than what he normally was during the game. He was slightly more accurate on that one play, and it cost us a game. But like I said, that was more of what Ike Taylor didn't
Speaking
do.
of being slightly more accurate, I didn't mean to cut you off on, but speaking of being slightly more accurate, pertaining to my tag name today, why are we acting as if Stephon Diggs is not north of 33 years old?
You only saying that because you got Stephon Diggs on
Is there
your squad.
Well, I can answer that question with a fact. He's not north of 33 years old. He's 31.
He's 32 or
He's
31.
31. He'll be 32 in November.
Bro, I'm 31, and you're gonna say that's old? That's insane.
Well, you ain't an NFL player.
We NFL player?
31? You 31? Wait, you 31? Damn.
He's 31 years old.
You 31? Damn.
Yeah, bro.
I'm 31. I'm 31.
What you
I don't
been
feel like
doing?
I can lead
You
the
the same
Patriots
age as
receiver room right
Stephon Diggs.
That's what I'm
now.
saying.
I don't know what
Like,
Cup's
come
talking
on,
about.
bro.
Has he
Man's
played a
senior
full
citizen,
season the
dog.
last
He's
2
a- he's
seasons?
a-
No.
Okay, so technically
No.
he's 30.
Hell
Well, I
no.
don't know.
He's
Coming off
34.
the ACL,
He
I
ain't
don't
played.
know.
Okay, what did he have? What did he have before the ACL? Or this is second ACL?
I think it
So
was.
it can't be his second ACL.
Was it? I think it was some kind of knee injury.
Okay, but it wasn't ACL. So this is the first ACL,
Yes.
and then he had a knee issue on the other leg. But he hasn't played a full season in over 2 seasons.
But he was producing though during the time he was producing regardless when he was on the
30.
field.
Isn't that kid the Steelers got, Woods? Woods was in the same scenario when he was with the Rams. He couldn't go a full season. He was always injured.
But when he was on the field, he was making plays.
He played 8 games with Houston. 17, 23. He missed one. So these honestly, one of the best players in the league. If we being honest, he hasn't played less than 13 games for this past season. So, I mean, he's been healthy. He's been producing. I don't know if he's going to produce this year, though, fresh off the ACL.
I mean, the good
Who do we
news
got
is that he's a great. Oh, did I mute? Yeah. The good thing is he's a great route runner. So like he's not overly dependent on being athletic.
Yeah. I appreciate that about his game. I do.
My question, why aren't you guys comparing him and Offset like y'all did Russ and Future?
Because Stephon Diggs is still a dog. He's not Russell Wilson. And Dana,
That's
to answer your
hilarious.
question, dog, who do I have winning the Super Bowl after the draft? Honestly, bro, I can't tell you. If I was to think about any team that maybe lost the least or maybe added the most, I mean, I think Philly is still in prime position to repeat. I don't see a team that's in the NFC that might have overtaken them, except maybe the Rams, if the Rams can stay healthy. That's always a dark horse team led by McVay and Matt Stafford that I feel like, and you know what I'm saying, they got the addition of Vontae Adams now, who is still, I think, in the prime of his career. Puka Nacua, you know what I'm saying? Those are two teams that I got, Rams, Eagles. AFC side, I have no idea, man. It's so hard to call.
So right now, I think I don't even want to answer this question because like there's so much we got to see training camp, like injuries and whatnot. But just at this moment, I would probably lean towards Buffalo and the Rams. But I feel like the Rams are too trendy and it's too set up for them. And you still got to get through Philly. But the problem with Philly is it's hard to get back. Like what Kansas City has been doing and what the Patriots did is not common. So, it's hard to get back. Like a sleeper, I think a sleeper, and I'm gonna hate myself for saying this in public, but I think the Broncos might be a sleeper.
It's bow time. Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? The Chargers could be a sleeper if they could finally get past Kansas City. And I think that's it because Cincinnati still doesn't have the defense. Baltimore is still relying on Lamar Jackson in big moments, and they still haven't necessarily got receivers to help him out.
Yeah, I think this was the window for Baltimore, bro. Derrick Henry isn't getting any younger.
Right, exactly. And then in the NFC, like I said, Philly, the Rams, Detroit's probably going to take a step back. So can Green Bay step up? So I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, so how do you feel about Matthew Golden?
I love that fit. I wasn't one of those people because I know Matthew Golden was looked at as receiver one by a lot of people in the draft. I didn't necessarily see him as receiver one, but with that team, saying I think he can unlock things. He can be, especially if Christian Watson is still going to be injured. Like you can lose Christian Watson without losing the big play ability.
Do you think they keep CY or try and see what it's like with both of them on the field, or you think it's his time?
I think you listen to calls. I don't think you necessarily like you're not right now sitting around planning to move him. But if somebody calls, you listen.
Yeah, for sure. Because isn't this his third season or fourth season?
I want to say third. But he's been hurt the whole time.
Entering his third or entering his fourth?
Entering his fourth, I believe. Let me double check that.
I think he was taking the 21. Hold on.
Yeah, let me double check that real quick. It looks like he's actually entering his. Yeah, he's entering the fourth year. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's the problem is that he's been hurt the whole time. Like, you know what I mean?
The entire time. This is like another one. Will Fuller was kind of worse, but he got so many chances.
Yeah, when he's on the field, he's definitely a difference maker, and he's definitely a playmaker. But that's the problem is just keeping him on the field.
Man, it's and I was starting to notice a trend, right? Bryce Young, his rookie year, brutal. It was absolutely unfathomable. And to think that it couldn't get any worse, I think the second season was even worse than the first season.
Yeah.
And the things that the team was doing around him, it was definitely signs that they're trying to compensate for something. Like in year two, right? Entering year two, what they do, they got Robert Hunt, even though that might have turned out to be a bad move. we always talk about value. You know what I'm saying? The same thing with the Will Campbell pick and Cole Strange, right?
Right.
So we talk, they tried to get offensive line. They went out, they got Leggett. They went out, they got Thielen. And then what did they do in year 3? They found out, maybe if we do protect him, we got him. We tried to get Jonathan Brooks. We got Chuba Hubbard in there. Maybe if we protect him and see what he can do, then we go out there and get the fancy toys. And then they bounce back with Teteroa McMillan, Jimmy Horn. That's the kind of explosiveness, and those are kind of the exciting things that I'm trying to see the Patriots achieve. So it's not that I'm opposed to. Hey, bro, you think you can turn that down just a little bit? I'm not opposed at all to the value. You know what I'm saying? I'm opposed at all to creating value. What I'm saying.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. Now go ahead, finish your point.
Oh no, I was just saying I'm not opposed to creating value, but like I said, with the Drake May thing, I might have been reaching. I might have been a little overzealous. I felt like Malik Neighbors was a better prospect at his position than Drake May was at his position. And the jury is still out as far as how dynamic they are, as far as longevity and what kind of careers they're going to have. But I still feel like they were just, especially with this Will Campbell thing. So that's all. I'm not going to ramble about it, but next year we definitely need. We got the lineman, we got the quarterback. Next year, I need to see splashes in the first round. I need to see skill and electricity.
And hey, you know what? If like what we were just talking about, the whole Christian Watson thing. I mean, I'm just saying.
I wouldn't mind taking a flyer on him after injury. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because he wouldn't have to carry the load.
Still on his rookie deal. You know what I'm saying? Still on his rookie deal. So you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of room left here, for the Patriots to make. But the problem is the head coach. You know what I mean? He's not that type of dynamic type of dude. Like, he's still smash mouth, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, move the chains. I don't know if Mike Vrabel has evolved. Like, he's basically, in a lot of ways, he's kind of Belichick Jr.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to philosophy, you know what I mean? So from that standpoint, I don't know if that move is there for the Patriots right now, just because it's year 1. He's probably just trying to figure out what he's got.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that with that division that you guys are in, there's room here, man. Like, obviously Buffalo is the top dog right now. Miami is always a Tua hit away, from falling off, and they got this drama with Tyreek Hill. Are they trading Jalen Ramsey? You got the Jets, who have only won 2 division titles since 1970.
Come on, bro.
So, and they got Justin Fields. I ain't trying to make insults, but they got Justin Fields as QB1. So, you know what I mean? Like, with a defensive head coach. So it's like rinse, cycle, repeat the same scenario, right? He went to play for Eberflus. Then he went to Tomlin. Now he's going to Aaron Glenn. So you're just rotating him between defensive coaches.
And I like what the Jets did in the draft. I just think that they're going to struggle on offense. I don't know what kind of team the Jets are going to be this year, but hopefully we're better than them. But again, is Jeremiah Smith not coming out this year? Because I've seen a couple of mocks.
No, he's a true freshman. He was a true freshman, so he's got 2 years left.
So yeah, we should have definitely
2 years. So this year and next season. Him and Ryan Williams out of Alabama, same boat, 2 years.
And those are undisputedly, I think, in my opinion, the best receivers in college football right now. I mean, of course, you know what I'm saying? More people are going to emerge as the season goes on. But this is like, I don't even know right now out of them, outside of them, who's going to be the dynamic receiver.
Right.
So hopefully, you know what I'm saying, we can make the right decisions and get some. And I mean, we still got the trade deadline and stuff like that. So hopefully, we can make something happen.
Right.
But you were saying that Miami. I don't know what they're going to do with Jalen Ramsey, but I think Miami might be on the turn of a downfall. I don't know. I don't know if Mike McDaniels has job security. I don't know how they feel about him inside the building.
Well, I know that, like, what always confuses me. And I don't want to take credit for this because, Raph brings this up a lot. is that these teams, I don't know what goes into their thought process of who their backup is going to be. So like if I have Justin Fields as my starting quarterback, shouldn't my backup be able to do some of the things that he does? You know what I mean? Like if the offense is centered on RPO, the quarterback make play with your legs when things get hairy or whatever, shouldn't I have a quarterback that should do that if you go down? Versus, and obviously, like it's a little different when you're talking about veterans because you had Anthony Richardson and then Joe Flacco backing them up, so you had the veteran presence there. So we understood that. But if you're a Justin Fields guy, I know he just retired, but Jordan Travis might be the perfect backup for you.
Right.
Because he can improvise when you're out of here versus me trying to make a statue and I got to limit my play calling. I can't even be creative.
Yeah.
But
Okay,
as far
so
as
give me a team that did that last year. That didn't have similar type quarterback. Quarterback one and
what the
two.
Colts?
Totally
Well, I
different.
just brought up the Colts.
Yeah, okay, my bad.
The Giants. The Giants. How about the Giants?
Yeah, okay. But everybody, like, say, Baltimore, quarterbacks are the same.
They usually do
Pretty
that.
much.
Yeah. Bo Nix's backup was what? Zach Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
So he can't. He can't do that stuff.
The Steelers last year Steelers, similar.
Russ Ken.
Atlanta wasn't, but I mean that was a totally different scenario.
Well, Russ can do some of those things. He's just not as fast as Justin Fields, but so he can improvise and run RPOs and things like that.
Dana, to answer your question,
Yeah,
I'm gonna go with a popular pick. I wouldn't be surprised if Shedeur has an opportunity to play. I don't think Dylan Gabriel plays at all. I'll definitely take Shedeur coming out the herd. But also, I wouldn't be surprised if Joe Flacco, the sturdy veteran, you know what I'm saying, probably going to demand all the respect at camp.
I'm going with Kenny Pickett. You know what I'm saying? You brought him in. You brought him in. You know what I mean? Like so like to your point, I think the Browns just trying to use logic, right? Mm-hmm. You would think that the Browns would be trying to set up Dylan Gabriel because they drafted him 2 rounds ahead of Shedeur. So theoretically, you would think that he has more of an inside track, to the job. Maybe you want to get Shedeur in there and see the personality, see what was true about the interviews and what's not. Mm-hmm. But I think that Flacco might be on his way out because there's still teams like Minnesota, for example, that don't have a backup quarterback right now. They were in the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes and then they bowed out. So could they make a move for Flacco to put a quarterback behind McCarthy and put that veteran presence in there? I know I've heard Kirk Cousins' name too, but but I'm gonna lean Flacco on that one. So I think Kenny Pickett, you brought him in. He's coming off the Super Bowl from a winning organization.
What did he contribute to that Super Bowl?
Nothing, but I'm just making a point.
Don't disrespect.
He was also a first round pick who was on a rookie contract. So like in a lot of ways, football teams kind of look, or sports in general, basketball too, they look at things like you had this potential at one point. It's in there somewhere. And they're the Browns. Because I
wouldn't be surprised if Kenny Pickett. I wouldn't. I think Shedeur Sanders is a better quarterback right now than Kenny Pickett is.
He might be, but I think with all the other stuff, saying he's going to have to truly earn it. Like, we always talk about the whole you got to be 2 times better than them. You know what I'm saying? So Shedeur has to legit dominate that battle to win that job, I think. Deshaun ain't coming back. Dylan Gabriel, I just don't think is an NFL quarterback. But like I said, they did draft him 2 rounds ahead of Shedeur. So you would think that he's higher in the hierarchy, at least starting out. And you and I both know that once you have your mind set on a certain thing, you know what I mean, you're not necessarily going to be easy to budge.
I feel that because I mean, I don't know. Did you think Dylan Gabriel was better than him coming out?
No. No, I think Dylan Gabriel is the perfect example of like a college quarterback. You know, like I always talk about if you go to a lab and you say build me a quarterback, it probably comes out similar to Peyton Manning. You know what I mean? Like Dylan Gabriel comes out when you're trying to build a college quarterback.
Mm-hmm. And he did go in the third round, right?
Yeah, third round. Yeah. What's up, Unc? You
so,
got some issues with that? You got some issues with the laboratory? I don't know. He was making them faces, but you know, but that was the thing. Like that was the thing that made the Manning Brady thing so crazy was because like Peyton Manning was born to be a quarterback. And like not to make him sound like an animal, but he was bred to be a quarterback. You know what I mean? And you know, Tom Brady did the hard work, came through, crushed the building. So I think that Dylan Gabriel is what Tua haters say Tua is. I'll put it like that. Yeah, I'll put it like that. You know what I mean? So he might be the better quarterback than Shedeur if you're just talking about, hey, let's get a game manager on the field. You know what I mean? That isn't going to lose us the game. And, you know, because right now, because, you know, Shedeur does hold on to the ball. He takes a lot of sacks. He doesn't throw the ball away a lot to save downs. I think Dylan Gabriel will do those things. So if you're just looking at it from we know that we're not very good team, you know, how can we stay in games? Is Dylan Gabriel going to be my Ryan Tannehill type quarterback?
And I really feel like that's what Vrabel is trying to do is just like, you know what I'm saying, trying to build like
rebuild the Titans.
For sure. You know what I'm saying? Good defense, you know what I'm saying, up front, good front seven, running back, you know what I'm saying? Taylor Lewan, left tackle. You feel me? And we just gonna rock out and we gonna go after fucking Stephon Diggs and just see what happens. But again, I'm not gonna keep, you know what I'm saying, hankering on that. I mean, I'm just gonna watch, and I know hopefully, you know, we can get another top pick and get an electrifying wide receiver. I like Kyle Williams though. You know what I'm saying? I like Kyle Williams. Hey, bro.
He was one of my
sleepers. With Tom Brady. I think he still would be in his own right. In his own right, bro. I mean, I can't. Again, Bill Belichick is a mastermind of defense. We can't take that away from him. You know what I'm saying? The question is, if Tom Brady wasn't a Patriot, would Bill Belichick be the GOAT? Because Tom Brady still has done everything that's needed to be done as a quarterback.
I don't, and that's the thing. I don't think you can even, as sacrilegious as it might sound, I don't even think you can start that conversation because we've seen Belichick without Brady on more than one occasion, and that's a losing record.
In the beginning of his tenure and in the
even after. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like even with Fat Jones and all that, like, you know, like because he came into the Patriots with a losing record. So you know, and then you know with Tom Brady, you know, I don't know, like obviously Tom Brady had the work ethic. You know what I mean? So I think that he would have been successful either way. But as far as the degree of success, does that work if you don't have not Belichick, like as far as Belichick is the reason for it, but that discipline. You know what I mean? Like if you have a looser head coach, if you will, like even with Tom Brady's work ethic, does he wear on a team the way that like they say Kobe Bryant did?
And which I think that's why it was a great fit for Tom in Tampa because he was already old. he's already been through Coach Belichick. So it's like, bro, whatever coach you could throw at me now, it's like, bro, it's this child's
Smooth
play.
sailing.
Like,
Yeah,
we about to eat him, bro.
And with a guy like you know when you're looking at situations like that, Tom Brady's and Tim Duncan's only come around every so often. You know, from the standpoint of I'm the head coach and I can yell at you or I can treat you the same way I treat them. So I think psychologically, you know, once you see like, damn, Bill yelling at Tom Brady like that, you can't really complain when he yell at you.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think that helped Brady as well. So even though Brady had the work ethic and strived to be the best, maybe he only has 3 Super Bowls if he didn't have that authoritative type head coach that aligned with his work ethic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, bro. I definitely feel
you know what I mean? Whereas like so here's a question. Like just and I don't want to stay too long here, but just because we're talking about it, you know, how many Super Bowls does a guy like Peyton Manning get with a Belichick?
I mean, he had a Dungy.
Because I still don't think it looks like Brady. I still don't think there's 6 of them. You know, like I mean, Brady got 7, but 6 with New England. Like it obviously. I don't think it looks like 6 Super Bowls. I don't think it's the same type of run. But you know, but I just wonder. Or maybe maybe Peyton wouldn't have had to do as much, you know, with the defensive center coach like that.
Yeah, because I mean, like I said, we've seen what happens, you know, when he was with Denver, and especially when we thought he was done. We thought that Peyton Manning. Well, I thought after the surgery and when they drafted Andrew Luck, and I saw the X-ray scan of what his neck looked like. I'm like, bro, he's not gonna play football again. Like,
right. But
then he came back and he had one of the best, if not the best, quarterback season ever. You know what I'm saying? So it's Peyton was definitely him, and I know you're not saying that he's not, but you know, if he would have had Bill Belichick, I don't know, man. It still wouldn't look like Tom. I don't think.
Yeah. It would have. I mean, he probably would have got another Super Bowl at least, but but that's what I'm saying, because like I think Kobe Bryant was that same way too. You know what I mean? Like where remember there was that conversation like, do players want to come play with him? You know, because he would just wear on you. You know, because you know there was no chill. And you know, so that worked when you had Phil Jackson, but when you brought in a lot of these other coaches, you know what I'm saying, it didn't necessarily work.
Yeah, bro. And that was like what Chris Collinsworth was saying, and I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing, but when Chris Collinsworth was talking about Peyton Manning, he was like, man, just watching him work on a day-to-day basis, it's like he's getting in there, he's running the meetings, and I know a lot of veteran quarterbacks running meetings. It's like he's running the meetings, and then when we get out on the practice field, he's like he's the one calling the practice times. He's the one saying what it is we about to work on. He's the one calling all the shots, making sure everybody's lined up right. Like not even like in the huddle and stuff. Like he's the one like, all right, 3 o'clock we about to do this, 4 o'clock we about to do that. You know what I'm saying? So that I feel like that type of leadership is just something that you don't really hear about. You know what I'm saying? Amongst a lot of people. So I fuck with Peyton Manning for sure.
You know, and that's the thing, you know, like it's all, a lot of it is circumstance. Like, you know, you talk about like fitness or whatever, and they say, you know, you can work out all you want, but it's built in the kitchen. You know, sure. It's that same type of thought process of, you know, obviously what you do on the court or on the field is paramount, but the preparation is probably where the games are won.
Yeah. Sure. Absolutely.
And you know, and that's why, like, when we're looking at the playoffs right now, you know, just to transition real quick before we get done, that's where a team like Boston has such an advantage, right? Because, like, yeah, they got Jason Tatum, yeah, they got Jaylen Brown and Porzingis and all these guys, you know what I mean? But it's a philosophy and a culture that they embody, that they bring onto the court. Like, you don't see Boston panic, you know what I mean? Like, and that was always my criticism. I don't want to get into a deep conversation, but that was always one of my criticisms about LeBron, is that he wears it on his face. You know what I mean? Like, when things aren't going well, he pouts, you know, he yells, he's just so demonstrative that even if I'm your teammate and you're trying to like rile us up, I'm looking at you like such a bitch, man. Like remember the other night when he was on the ground? The other night when he was on the ground, they looked at him like, what? No, not that one. When he ran into White.
Oh, when he bumped into what's dude name?
Yeah.
DiVincenzo, yeah, Dante.
Yeah, and they were just like standing there looking around, like they weren't even like, LeBron, you good? Yeah, they were just looking at his ass like you just trying to get a rest. You know what I mean? And so like I think that you start to see that in because people talk about that with people like Nick Saban and coaches that you don't see, like Brian Kelly. You know, you see that where Nick Saban's face, he might yell at you, but when the game is tight, he's focused. You know what I'm saying? Whereas Brian Kelly is that Calipari type that's yelling in your face, screaming, and you can't even get anything out of it because you're like, what's wrong with this dude?
What?
like what's wrong with this dude? You know what I'm saying? And but you know, no, but that's my point though, Dana, is that like when you got a guy like LeBron like doing that, and this is the guy that people are calling the GOAT and all that kind of stuff too. And it's like, you know, the pressure is on and you're just out here losing your mind. Like, you know, it always takes me back to the J.R. Smith thing. Like, you still had overtime and he was like on the bench throwing towels and like doing all this shit. And I get it. Like, JR fucked up. You should be mad.
Get back in the game,
talk to JR, yell at him versus pouting and kicking and just looking like a baby over there. Because I'm looking at you like you're our leader and we're supposed to be following you right now. And instead of like, because Kobe, you know what I'm saying, might make a comment, like he'll walk past you and be like, you fucked up, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? And he'll leave it at that. And then you're just kind of like, oh, I gotta redeem myself, or like, oh, being like upset with me right now. Let me make it better. With LeBron, you're just caught up in why this dude whining? Like, we still got overtime, or we still got, you know, like what, you know what I mean? Like, besides the fact that was game one in a series that you wasn't supposed to win, and you had a chance to get out of Oracle still in a victory. You know what I mean? So that's so I think that's a thing, you know, to where, and it doesn't help because you added Luka, and he's the same way. You know, when things aren't going well, he's pouting. You know, he's yelling at the officials while you giving up a fast break.
Word, standing there down in the court, getting on defense.
Yeah, I think that over the course of a series, that shit just wears on you. Yeah, like, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're Rui, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're thinking to yourself, like, if I miss this 3-point shot, the media is going to eviscerate me. And you know what I mean? Like, the fans are going to blame me, and LeBron's going to yell at me. JJ's going to cuss me out. But this motherfucker's supposed to be the leader and the GOAT or whatever. And he's up here acting like a petulant child. You know what I mean? I think that matters.
It definitely does.
You know what I'm saying? And you don't see Jason Tatum act like that. You don't see SGA act like that. You know what I'm saying? You don't see Kawhi act like that. You know, and that's the other thing. What the fuck OKC been doing all week? They've been off since Sunday. Them in Cleveland. What they been doing all week?
Hopefully practicing. Who they got next?
OKC, they get the winner of Clippers Nuggets.
Damn.
Which is game 7.
Well, that might be all right though, because we're gonna see the MVP versus MVP.
That's what I want. I did pick the Clippers to win the series, but that's what I want. I want the MVP battle. You know, but this is the problem. The Clippers, I mean, the Nuggets only are playing 6 or 7 dudes. You know what I mean? So, like, in last year, they had game 7 at home against Minnesota. They lost. You know what I mean? But if let's say Denver wins on tomorrow. Let's say Denver wins game 7 tomorrow. You play OKC, who's had a week off. You've only been playing 6 or 7 dudes. Like, I think when it's done, OKC's going to have 8 days.
Wow.
Because like I said, they wrapped it up Sunday, and I think game 1 is on Monday. So it'll be 7 or 8 days that OKC's had off. So when you look at it from that standpoint, if you're a team coming into OKC, because you're going on the road too, you know what I'm saying? and you're only playing 6 or 7 dudes, I'm taking OKC in the points game 1. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm taking OKC by 20 in game 1. You know what I mean? And if it's the Clippers, they're deeper. You know what I'm saying? And they should pose matchup problems for OKC that Denver can't. And you know, and when you factor in the defense as well, the Clippers should give OKC a better series than Denver would. But if it's Denver, I'm taking OKC by 20 in game 1.
I feel you, because I mean the 4 and 5 seed, obviously in the West. I mean Nuggets, Clippers. I mean these are just two mid teams with big name stars. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like when they match up against the Thunder, I think the Thunder is going to come out on top, obviously, and hopefully the Timberwolves. I think the Timberwolves can take care of business against the Warriors. I do think the Warriors pull one out in the clutch tonight. Hopefully, Rockets do it because I want to see the young guys do it, but I think the Warriors will.
I like the Rockets tonight.
Okay.
I like the Rockets tonight. I think that well, this is the thing, right? So tonight is game 6. So game 4. That was the game where Dylan Brooks and Jimmy Butler were doing their little conversation or whatever. And it was like, and the announcer brought this up. I think it might have been Reggie Miller. He brought this up like it was Grant Williams all over again. You know what I'm saying? Like, leave that man alone. Like, he just sitting over here. Yeah, like he's just sitting over here going through the motions, running up and down the court. He's hurt. Leave him alone. And then you fucking with him, and now, you know what I'm saying, he's going to the free throw line. You know, but then when you go to game 5, you know, the other night, Jimmy Butler went 2 for 10. You know, Steph, you know, I think only took like 8 shots or something like that. But the point being is that I don't know if you saw those pictures of Steph's thumb that they had on TNT the other night.
That was super cool.
Yeah, so you got to rely on him. He's your star. He's got to shoot you to victory. And then you got Dylan Brooks and these dudes swiping at his hand too. You know what I mean? Yeah, so it's going to be so can Jimmy Butler put the Warriors on his back if necessary? Like, he can score and stuff, but can he put them on his back? You know, Podziemski's been playing good. Obviously, I think the Warriors will bounce back and fight because of the way they got blown out the previous game. But you know what this game is going to come down to for me? And I hate to be that guy, but the game is going to come down to the refs for me. You know, how loose are you letting them play? Because if you're calling a tight whistle, then yes, Golden State probably walks out of there with a 15-point win. You know what I'm saying? But like I said earlier, right? You brought up the Pistons when we were talking about Jalen Brunson. Like, the Pistons should have won that series.
For sure.
I think that if you're the Rockets, you feel that same way. Like, game 3, you missed 14 free throws. You know, there was another game where, you know, and you know, Van Vliet just got started. You know, he's hot now. Jalen Green is still going through, you know, not playing right. So if you're the Rockets, you're like, if I could get anything out of Jalen Green and hit my free throws, we can beat this team. Because we're killing them on the boards with Steven Adams. You know what I mean? But when they foul Steven Adams, you got to go to
double digits.
I think twice. I think twice. He had an 11-point game, I think. But there was the 38-point where he was trying to match his girlfriend's age. And then, and then he had the 11. and everything else has been single digits. So from that standpoint, you're almost at the point of, if I could get 18 points from Jalen Green and semi-efficient, like, we're in this game, and now we just got to hit free throws. Because Jimmy's still hurt, you know what I mean? And Steph got the hand issue. So you're asking Podziemski and Buddy Hield. You're asking one of those two to potentially go off.
And man, that Sengun play, we ready to get out of here, but that Sengun play, bro, at the end of the game, when like, it's like, bro, you giving Draymond ammunition. You giving people a reason to say that he's a credible defensive player. Why would you run at him, right, of all people?
And not only that, but back to what we were just saying, Şengün hits that shot, Rockets are up 3-2. See what I'm saying? Like, so the difference is the experience, because see, this is the thing. So with the Pistons, right? You got a young dude like Cade Cunningham, who was the #1 overall pick. You know, he's kicking ass or whatever. But then you got your pieces like Tim Hardaway Jr., you know, Toby, you know what I'm saying, Malik Beasley, that are there they're there to be timely players. Hit this shot when I need you to. With the Rockets, it's the reverse. With the Rockets, it's Fred VanVleet is still your best player to some degree. You know what I mean? Like, he's still your best player. So now I need Amen to try to get me 16 points. You know what I'm saying? I need Jalen Green to be the star of the series for us to have a chance. Whereas Detroit didn't necessarily need Cade Cunningham in that way. Like, Cade Cunningham, grab some rebounds, get people involved. Your shot will come. With Jalen Green, it's like, no, you don't do nothing but score. And you ain't doing that right now. You know what I mean? And I've been trying to figure out why Jabari Smith isn't getting more minutes, because, you know, he usually plays well against the Warriors. He's shooting 59% in this series, 55 from 3, and he's playing like 20 minutes a game.
Where's the number 3 pick?
And he's 6'10", you know what I mean? And, you know, throw him on that floor with Şengün and Steven Adams and have that, you know, big lineup, because he can still guard, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, he gets killed in the pick and roll, so that probably has something to do with it, but he can straight up guard like Podziemski or Buddy Hield and have size over them. Like, if Denver's going to play Michael Porter Jr., there ain't no reason that the Rockets can't play Jabari Smith.
And I definitely agree, man. And yeah, and also, like I said, man, shout out to the number 3 overall pick. I don't know when he's going to get his shot, but it need to be soon.
He's probably going to be a part of a KD trade, or, you know, I've been hearing Giannis's name with them. You know, I've heard Giannis's name with San Antonio as well. You know, could you imagine Giannis and Wemby on the same floor?
Wow.
You know, but of course, to do that, you got to give up my guy, the rookie of the year. Yeah.
Would you do it for Giannis?
So I'm gonna say no. I know most people think I'm crazy for saying no, but I think that Castle is. I think he's that good, you know. And depending on what you do Murray? In the draft, huh?
What about Murray? Would you make Murray expensive? Well, not Fox. I'm sorry.
No, you can't do that. Because you probably want to build a big 3 if you're doing that. You know what I'm saying? So you want Fox, Giannis, and Wemby. So it has to be probably Castle, either a Vassell or what's my man with the hair? I can't think of his name right now. One of those two, or both maybe even, and you're talking about 3 first-round picks maybe? Sohan, that's his name. Sohan.
Oh, Sohan. Okay. Oh, yeah.
Like, so him, Vassell, and Castle, or at least Castle and one of those two. Maybe another filler like Trey Jones, and 3 first-round picks maybe.
And all they sending is Giannis. They're gonna have to send Kuzma too for all this.
No, like they might be able to get away with Giannis and Gary Trent Jr. or something like that. You know what I mean?
Might not be bad.
I think Kuzma might make too much. Because remember, Sohan and Castle are both on rookie deals. You know what I mean? So Giannis is the big money that you have to make match.
All right. So final question before we get out of here, man.
Yeah.
Does Kuzma ever have a bounce back season?
Yes. If he goes to Charlotte or like somewhere like he got to go to a sorry team and just put up numbers like he was doing in Washington. I don't think
he had the opportunity to do that in Washington.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think he did it in Washington, You know what I'm saying? It was when he went to Milwaukee that didn't go. So I think that if you're relying on Kuzma to be one of the best players on a championship team, you're SOL. You know what I mean? But if he's playing for a team like Washington or Charlotte or somebody like that, then like he'll get numbers. The team though, real quick, the team that I got my eye on in the future is the Blazers. You know what I mean? Like, let's see what they do in the draft. Yeah, let's see what they do in the draft. And one modification. So we've been talking about the Orlando Magic, and one of the things that I kept saying was if they could get Dame. You know, obviously that's not a thing anymore. So if Orlando can get, now I need 2 players. If they can get Anthony Simons and Quentin Grimes, they cooking.
Okay, last question. So where do you see Trey? Because I know we talk about Orlando a lot. So where can you see Trey landing at?
So that's tough. I don't know how much of a market he has. He's obviously a great player. You know what I mean?
I feel you.
But I think that one, his height is going to hurt him, and he doesn't have He doesn't have the Jalen Brunson body.
Okay, yeah, this is true.
You know what I mean? And I think that, and this is just me guessing.
Chris Paul was a little stocky.
I think this is just me guessing. I'm not trying to state this as a fact, but I think teams might view him as, does he have a little of that Shador in him? You know what I mean? Like the attitude, the showboating. I don't think he does, but I'm just speaking from the point of how our general manager's looking at him. So I would say Orlando. I would say Brooklyn, just based off of the money that they have.
And what they
so if you're Brooklyn, see, check this out. If you're Brooklyn with all the money that you have, could you try to put Giannis and Trey together? You know what I mean? So that's one. You know what I'm saying? Orlando, I've been a fan of this Trey for Ja Morant thing. I don't know if that's a real thing, but in my mind, that makes sense. I don't like this move, but just because of things that they've done before. Does Phoenix try to put him next to Devin Booker?
I could see Phoenix grabbing at straws and trying to do something like that, though.
That's what I'm saying. Like it doesn't make sense. Like, it doesn't make sense at all. But with the things that they've done in the past, could they just be trying to get rich quick, if you want to look at it that way? And then I got 2 more teams real quick. 2 more teams. The Miami Heat.
Put them next to Hero?
Yeah, or you might have to lose Hero in that deal. But the problem with Miami is that next year Bam makes 37, and then the 2 years after that he is at like 51 and 54. So that might be a problem as far as, yeah, you can get those 2, but what do you put around them?
Is Bam a lifelong?
And then the last team, and I pray to God that this doesn't happen for Trae Young's sake, because Sacramento will be a thing. You know, they lost De'Aaron Fox. You know, and they already lost Halliburton. I think Sabonis is probably out of there. You got to probably move one of DeRozan or Levine. You know what I mean? So if you're Atlanta, could you do, let's say, Sabonis and something else or whatever, maybe a pick for Trae Young? And you would have Trae Young. You drafted Devin Carter this year. So you put Trae next to Devin Carter. You have whoever's left over between DeRozan and Levine. But I also don't like it because, you know, they just hired Doug Christie. So, you know, Trae needs an actual, not to disrespect Doug Christie, but he needs a head coach with experience. But, you know what I'm saying, I don't know how OVO might feel. OVO might say, bring Trae to the Bulls.
Hey, I wouldn't mind having Trae on the Bulls. Wouldn't mind it at all.
But with who there? I mean, you're getting, you know what I'm saying? Who gonna be your backcourt? Your front court, I mean.
I think it'd probably be him and Giddey, and I think him, Giddey, Bazelis, everybody else is up for grab.
Yeah, like you could trade Kobe White in that trade because he's due a contract next year anyway. You know, you could trade Kobe if they want Vucevic.
Yeah, they're going Vucevic.
Yeah, him and Vucevic and a pick for Trae Young.
I like it. I love it, actually. That should have been that should have catapulted us to another level.
Like, I wouldn't want to get rid of Kobe White, but if you could bring in Trae, you do it.
And I would counter and probably try to sneak a guy in, like what's the African dude? I forgot his name.
Oh, for the Cognawu?
Yeah, he can hoop.
Yeah, I don't think they're giving him up.
Probably not. But if they get Vucevic,
Maybe. I mean, because I would think, you know, like if I'm Atlanta, I'm looking at him next to Jalen Johnson when he gets back.
Yeah, true.
You know, and then we got Ricochet. Like, you already got a core.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
They just gotta
Cowboy
grow
Mike,
up.
man, we already approaching that hour 15, man. Before we get out of here, we do have a question, big dog. Since the Lakers are out of there, right?
Yeah,
Lakers are out of there.
I was wrong.
Pistons are out of there.
Yes.
Do you
Jalen
think?
Brunson said,
Do you think that we will get to see a OKC Timberwolves Western Conference Finals?
it's starting to look that way.
I say yes.
For me, for sure, I think it's probably the line they're headed to. I think that the way Minnesota, I guess, you know, they got Will Chamberlain now, so you never know.
Because my question is, if
If
just a
Gobert can play as well, then they're gonna be just fine.
and y'all know I like to stir the pot a little bit. Just a hypothetical, you know, I don't want to ruffle any feathers. I don't have anything against these guys. You know what I'm saying? I don't have anything against these guys, okay? But if Ant was to see Shea Gilgeous-Alexander in the Western Conference Finals and SGA loses this series, are we talking about Ant different? Are we talking about Shea differently? Or are we talking about these teams differently? Like, Shea's still that guy, but, you know, Timberwolves just might have had the edge a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
I think so. I think defensively they stepped that game up, especially Ant. Like, he showed that the past 2 years he took KD out and took LeBron out. If he doesn't have to play against Kyrie, I think Ant is gonna show like I'm the guy for real, the best two-way guy in the league.
And even with that, Mike, you still forgot something. In 3 of Anthony Edwards' last 4 playoff series, he swept Kevin Durant, won a Game 7 on Jokic's floor.
Come on, bro.
And then beat Luka and LeBron.
Yeah.
So he's already at a level that SGA can't get to this year when it comes to like the resume or whatever.
100%.
You know, I think though, is that Minnesota. I think Minnesota could take OKC to 7. I think the difference is Minnesota would need too many dudes to play outside of their mind. Like you need Julius Randle to maintain what he's doing right now. Mm-hmm. You need Jaden.
He's playing well. G's playing well.
He is. And you know, you need McDaniels to still play out of his mind. And OKC's defense is way better than the Lakers. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You need Naz Reid to turn into Tony Kukoc.
You know what I'm saying?
100.
You know what I mean? So that's where I think it is. But I think that it could be one of those series where Anthony Edwards outplays SGA, but OKC still wins.
Mm-hmm.
So to answer your direct question, I think I don't know, because I think most people already view Anthony Edwards up there
in the same echelon.
Yeah, I think people already do. As far as SGA goes, I think the media, I don't know how regular people would be, but I think the media would run with, is SGA overrated? Will he ever win a title?
Big time.
All that kind of stuff like
we've
that.
Been having MVP talks the last 2 years, and now they're basically saying, can we just give it to him, please? Can we just He scored 30 again, guys. Like
now, if OKC were to lose this next series, then it's open season. They would play the winner of Clippers and Nuggets. So if they lose that series, no matter whichever one it is, it's open season on SGA.
I agree.
Yeah, big time.
You know what I'm saying? Remember what was it? Was it Daffy Duck? Rabbit season, duck season, rabbit season, duck season, shoot. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, real
on his
talk.
ass.
Real
On
talk.
his ass.
They showed his ass big
Yeah.
time.
And I would even argue, you know what I mean, just to show you how fair I can be, Cubs. If the Knicks
let's hear
don't get 2 games in this series, if the Knicks don't get 2 games, it's open season on Jalen Brunson.
I think we got it for
I
1.
agree.
I'm sorry. I think we're gonna get a gentleman jump. I'm sorry.
They might. They just might. But I'm just saying, but if they don't get at least 2 and be competitive, because I can see Boston winning a game in this series by 20.
Yeah,
You know what I
easily.
mean? Like,
Because they just go too long without scoring. Like, I think the go-to guy got to be Miles Bridges, though. As much as I love Jalen Brunson, he gets run down too late in games. Like, I'm sure he made that 3. You usually don't have hands in the fourth quarter like that. You know what I'm saying? So I think the go-to guy's got to be Mikal Bridges. I think he's the X factor in the series that can really open things up. And Cat got to play better consistently. He still ain't done.
and
Like, he wasn't dominating in the Pistons, though. Like, Isaiah Stewart didn't play a lot in this series due to his knee. You had Jalen Durant by yourself, and you didn't abuse him.
you
Like,
getting locked up by Kobe.
Exactly. It's crazy.
You know, and
Crazy,
that's the thing, right? But this is the difference. This is the difference. If what I said happens, because I'm picking Indiana over Cleveland, if that happens, Donovan Mitchell ain't gonna get none of that.
Nah, not at all.
People don't view him in that way.
And that's what I be saying, bro. And that's all I be saying, bro.
And he does deserve it. Like, if it happens, he deserves it.
Him and
But
Garland,
he
I
won't
think.
get it.
I feel like people, and I know we were trying to get out here.
That's
I think people feel like everybody on the Cavaliers is like the same caliber of player, not like the same tier, like every athlete, like, but it's like as far as where their position goes and like respectively, like in their field, they just feel like, you know what I'm saying, they're equally on par with everybody else, and they just have a good nucleus of players.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
I mean, but the Cavs also get the excuse of they got a first-year coach too. So, that. But at the same time, I don't care about that for real. Like, you won more than 60 games, you used to be a contender.
For sure. So
You know what I mean? Like it should be you in Boston, and if it's you in Boston, you still need to take them to 6 or 7.
We
Or
just
beat 'em.
do well against I've always said I don't never sweat no November loss. I don't never sweat no February loss, whatever. But you have to start thinking, it's like, okay, we still done dropped like 3 games out the series in the regular season. What's going on? So I if we was to meet Cleveland in the playoffs, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous for Boston.
No, I'm not nervous.
I'm not nervous a
I
little
watched
bit.
those games with a 5-2 comb, and I feel like Cleveland just came out. And I don't think y'all was playing full throttle. Y'all in the playoffs, y'all different. And Porzingis been playing a lot of those games.
The only way I'm nervous is if Jason Tatum gets hurt.
Yeah.
That's the only way I'm nervous. Because I think they could beat the Knicks without Jason Tatum.
I think he averaged 36 and 11, if I'm not mistaken.
Something like that. And that's the thing, right? Like, I think that Indiana, if it was Indiana-Boston, I still think Boston would win, but I would be a little bit more nervous just because of last year. Like, they swept Indiana last year, but it was just like the Pistons. Like, Indiana was right there in every single game.
Every game, yeah.
And Halliburton didn't even play in the last 3. So if I'm Indiana, I might have a certain confidence against Boston that Cleveland's not allowed to have because they ain't done shit.
True, man, and definitely shout out to Indiana. No, I promise, this is our last thing. We in this here hot box have been talking down. Well, I don't want to say talking down, but we've been very critical of Tyrese Halliburton, and I just want to give my hats off to him. I called it.
Yeah, that's you. Nobody else was criticizing him. That's just you.
That's cap. That's cap.
Well, actually, Mike might have been too. Mike might have been criticizing.
I'm not the biggest Halliburton fan. I give him credit.
You know what I'm saying? It don't matter if it's Greek Freak, Little Bo Peep, or Martin Lawrence in Blue Streak. Pacers in 5. That's exactly what happened. You know what I'm saying? That's exactly what happened. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
That's
fellas,
it, man.
we don't reach that hour and 25-minute mark in this here Friday lunchbox, man. We appreciate everybody who came through the smoke with us this afternoon, dog. You already know I had the gang with me, my dog, DJ, Mike P, Dallas Mike, Dakota Mike, throw the foes up in this motherfucker. And you already know, man, the quartermaster, my dog, one half of Sports Reports as ordered 2-5. Mike Will representing live in the building. We might be back tonight for the Friday Smoke Fest. Just tap in with us, man. Same time, same place, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're letting the windows down, rolling the smoke out, man. Love you so much. Oh, and above all else, fuck Aaron Rodgers.
With a side
And
of
fuck
Kevin
Kevin
Durant.